What's up, brothers? This is OuweSok, and in this Battle Brothers video I'll be talking to you about the Jagged Pike, aka the Goblin Pike. So you see the stats of the weapon here. It does 50 to 70 damage, 25% ignore armor, 90% armor damage, plus 5% to hit, which is always useful, and the attack is 5 AP, which is quite unique two-handed weapon with a 5 AP attack. So before we dig into the Jagged Pike further, I want to be talking to you first about Quickhands. So I use Quickhands on almost all of my brothers. I use Quickhands on my two-handers, so that I can have the normal two-handed weapon together with its reach version, so the hammer and the pole hammer, the axe and the long axe, pole mace and the mace, the cleaver and the whip, which makes this very useful, very flexible build. I use it on all my ranged brothers so that I can swap between throw weapons and also with any kind of two-handed ranged weapon that I'm carrying, so the crossbow, the bow, or the handgun. I also use Quickhands on my banner so that I can attack for 5 AP or rally for 5 AP and then switch to a net and throw it. So I use Quickhands on many of my bros. I don't use it on my tanks, and I don't use it on my duelists, but we will get to this later in the video. Maybe also duelists should have Quickhands. If I develop a two-hander, the path I follow with perks is this: first Colossus, then Student, Quickhands, I get a level 4. Pathfinder, which saves me a lot of stamina over a battle. Underdog, Berserk, Battleforged. That's for me the basis of a two-hander, the core. I think two-handers don't need a lot of stamina, so there's basically no need to create a nimble version. You can go with a heavier armor. And after these perks, there's still a lot of other perks that you can pick from depending on how you want to finish the build. Things like weapon mastery, any kind of weapon mastery that comes with the weapon that you're carrying. Gifted, reach advantage, fearsome, brawny, killing frenzy are all other perks that you can use to finish the build. But this is what I use on basically all my two-handers. So what does Quickhands bring to you? Well, it brings flexibility, of course. So a brother can be demoted to a backliner if he is damaged. You can choose to attack an enemy at 2 range if you're cannot really moving. For example, you are engaged with a barbarian reaver with a one-handed weapon, which are not very dangerous, and you can choose maybe to attack a barbarian chosen that is on a distance of 2 and threatening your brothers. So that might be a better use of your attack. But the most important benefit of Quickhands is that you will become a lot better in converting your action points into attacks, and thus you gain damage. A couple of examples of what you can do with Quickhands is at some point you might find yourself in a backline. There's brothers between the enemy and yourself, so then you can switch to your reach weapon and continue attacking. You can attack the enemy at ranges 3, so you cannot do this with a normal two-hander. So this is very useful often in turn 1 when the enemy approaches you. You can move 1 forward, switch to your reach weapon and smack them. And it also makes Berserk a lot more powerful for two-handers. In principle, Berserk doesn't fit two-handers really, because it gives you back 4 AP for the 6 that you invested. But if you are stationary and you attack and you kill an enemy with Berserk, you get back up to 7 AP that you can use for another two-handed attack. And if you're not adjacent to a second enemy, then you can quick hand to a reach weapon and attack an enemy that is at range 2. This actually happens a lot, and this is why Quickhands is so very good together with Berserk. And I think you will get more value, more damage out of Quickhands than you would get, for example, from Killing Frenzy. So this is about Quickhands, so let's get back to the Jagged Pike. So what are the advantages of the Jagged Pike? First of all, it's very light. It costs 8 fatigue to carry, opposed to 14 fatigue for other pole arms. It costs 5 AP for an attack, so it's like a pole arm with built-in pole arm mastery. And it's also very easy to find named versions of Jagged Pikes. Goblin Skirmishers, champions of Goblin Skirmishers can come with 3 famed weapons, or with a sword, or with a spear, or with a Jagged Pike. So you have a probability of 1 in 3 to get a Jagged Pike from a Goblin champion. The advantage of famed Goblin Jagged Pikes is that they come with only 6 fatigue instead of 8. And they improve 2 stats, so they can have increased damage, increased armor penetration, increased armor damage, increased hit percentage, or a decreased use of fatigue. So that's 2 stats out of 5 that are being improved. So there's a 1 in 10 probability that you can get the optimal version of extra damage and extra armor penetration. So if you find a Jagged Pike like this, with a lot of damage and a lot of armor penetration, you have a formidable weapon, really. This Jagged Pike is better than a polearm, and beats even a couple of named polearms. The disadvantage of the Jagged Pike is that it does less damage than other two-handed weapons or regular polearms. So it only does 50 to 70 damage, 25% ignore armor, and it puts 2 stacks of 5 bleeding damage on your enemy. So it's a fair amount of damage, but not as good as other two-handed weapons. So what are the uses of the Jagged Pike? Well, they are very useful in the legendary location, the Sunken Library, as a secondary weapon. At some point you will be flooded with skulls that are best dealt with reach weapons. So blooders that don't usually wear a reach weapon can carry a Jagged Pike. For example, your tank should carry a Jagged Pike in this fight. The Jagged Pike is very good as a secondary weapon when you're fighting lindworms. So your brothers will usually go in with a good pole arm, or a pole hammer, or a pole mace. But sometimes you will find yourself in the position that you are not at 2 distance from the lindworm tail and 3 distance from a head, but you find yourself at, let's say, a fairly uncomfortable 3 distance from just a head. Then you can switch to the Jagged Pike and use the move, attack and move back option, so that you can contribute to the fighting the lindworm without getting into range of the head. Against the Kraken, it is a very good primary weapon, the Jagged Pike. You can use 4 AP to detentacle yourself or a brother, and then the remaining 5 AP to attack a tentacle. You can of course go in with one-handed weapon, but you will not always be able to find a tentacle adjacent to yourself, and the Jagged Pike has the flexibility to also hit at a distance of 2, so that's a very useful weapon for this fight. I also like Jagged Pikes against Alps, extra mobility, very useful. And I also use Jagged Pikes against their former owners, against goblins. My standard strategy against goblins is Kite Shield and a one-handed weapon, so that I can deal with being netted, I can deal with being rooted by a shaman, and still have 4 AP for an attack. So what I would do is I try to move to the palisade. Some of my men will be able to get into melee with the goblins, and others will be sitting more or less useless against the palisade. So that's the moment that you can drop your Kite Shield for the cost of 5 AP, Quickhands to the Jagged Pike and attack the Goblin Shaman or the Goblin Overseer or some other nasty Goblin that's on the other end of the palisade, and make yourself very useful. So these are use cases for the Jagged Pike where the Jagged Pike specifically is pretty good. And I think I would want to like it to take it a bit further. So a Jagged Pike for ultimate two-hand flexibility, a Jagged Pike for everyone. So look at a couple of examples from my current late game roster. A mace duelist with a Jagged Pike, a two-handed flail bro with a Jagged Pike, two-handed hammer bro with a Jagged Pike, a two-handed axe, two-handed swords. Everyone carries a Jagged Pike for ultimate flexibility. So what can you do with these configurations? Well, the first thing is that you can now attack an enemy that has a distance 4. You can move 2 and attack over a range 2 that you cannot do with any other of the configurations. What you see often with two-handers is that you move, and you attack and kill an enemy, berserk triggers, and you go up to 5 AP. So at 5 AP, it's not enough to switch to your reach weapon, to the reach version of your two-handed weapon, but it is enough for an attack with the Jagged Pike. So you can quick hands to Jagged Pike and attack. This actually happens quite a lot. So move, attack, berserk, switch to a Jagged Pike and attack again, so that you make optimal use of the berserk 4 AP that you're getting for free. The Jagged Pike also works pretty good with duelists. There's a video from Carve a Hole in which he explains about the duelist polearm brother with its flexibility and its mobility. But you can build this brother without polearm spec. So if you can spare a perk for polearm spec, you can use this build with the Jagged Pike. So it has really good synergy. So you can attack with your duelist weapon, switch to the Jagged Pike and attack some nasty enemy that's standing in their backline. So maybe you're standing in front of a footman and there's a billman behind it, or maybe you're standing in front of a brigand and there's a marksman behind it that you can aim your pike at. And also sometimes you will find that you attack twice with a duelist weapon, kill the opponent, berserk triggers, you get back to 5 AP and you don't have any other adjacent enemies. So in that case also you can quick hand to the Jagged Pike and attack an enemy that is at a distance of 2. So these configurations at the cost of only 3 AP if you have a famed Jagged Pike and 4 AP if you have a non-famed version. Carrying this in your back pocket is quite cheap, and it gives you a lot of flexibility, and it gives you a much better possibility to extract the maximum out of your precious action points. So that's what I wanted to tell you in this video. Try the Jagged Pike together with your two-handed weapons and see how often it brings value to you. I think you'll be surprised. So it's very effective, very useful, very flexible, and it gives you many options. So that was the video. Thanks a lot for attending. Feel free to put your comments in the comment section, and see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye bye.